Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, there lived the evil villains of fairy tales from across the land. Today, on Happily Never After, we bring them to you face to face.
Tell all. I'm your host, the not so fair fairy godmother. First, tonight we're going to be talking about the some villains from our favorite stories. First, we're going to be starting with the one we all remember, Hansel and Gretel. Now, we all know this story that the two little kids go running into the woods and happen upon the house made out of candy. Now, in this house, they find that there's a wicked witch there, and she happens to be blind. And she takes them in and offers to feed them, but she's doing this to fatten them up so she can eat them for her own dinner. So we brought her in to see what her side of the story was. So let's introduce the blind witch.
Boo! Boo!
Thank you for coming in today.
Hello, thank you for having me. I hate to ruin the fairy tale, but I've been silent long enough. The truth of the matter is that these children were nothing but spoiled rotten. They ran away only when their stepmother wouldn't feed them junk food anymore. At first, when they showed up, I heard them eating my house, and I took pity on them. The poor children, they must have been so hungry to eat my house. So I tried to feed them the healthiest food. Young children need to grow big and strong, you know. I fed them beautiful meals, carrots, potatoes, chicken, and steak. Yet they were so unappreciative and kept trying to run away. So I put them in a room and locked the door until I could contact their father. I am a kind soul, however, so I thought I'd make one last attempt to cook them a roast. The next thing I know, that little Hansel, he pushed me in the oven. Luckily, I was able to keep the door open slightly. Then I heard the footsteps of the children's father, and he finally came and let me out.
Okay.
I told him the whole story, from them eating my house to them pushing me in the oven, and he paid me off. He offered me a large sum of money to restore my house to its original glory and cover for any therapy I may need. Well, I finally had enough of this poor Hansel and poor Gretel talk, and I decided to tell you my story.
Well, that money wasn't enough to stop them from enough to compensate for your name being dragged through the mud, was it?
No.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who now is the fairest one of all?
Our next guest is the Wicked Queen from Snow White. Now, as you know, she was a stepmother to Snow White, and she was the fairest one of all in the land until Snow White came along. This didn't make the queen very happy, or so we've been told, so she sent out a huntsman to go and kill Snow White. Well, a huntsman obviously couldn't do his job properly because the queen had to go out herself, dress up like a hag, and give Snow White this poisonous apple. Now, she's here to set the story straight, to tell us her side of what actually happened. Let's give it up for the Wicked Queen.
Boo!
Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, it's nice to see you. I am the wicked stepmother, and I am here to tell my side of the story. It all happened once upon a time or so ago, and I met this man, and he was a king, and he had the most beautiful daughter with porcelain skins named Snow White. I had grown very fond of her because, as you know, I myself could not bear children, so I had taken her under my wing. I do not see her this way anymore. It all happened this one day when I was in my chambers and I asked my mirror the question I ask it every day. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? And to my delight, he responded that Snow White was now the fairest in the land. I was thrilled.
So you were actually happy about this.
I was so happy for her. I could pass on the torch to someone of my own.
Oh, that's sweet.
So I sent my huntsman out to find her so I could throw her a party. Now, it had been a few days since I sent the huntsman out to go find her, and I had this sneaking suspicion that something wasn't right because I think he was in love with me.
Why did you think that?
Well, he was always following me around, always wanted to be near me, always telling me how beautiful I was, but I was a happily married woman. I had no time for that. So I had no choice but to go out myself dressed up as a hag so that the huntsman wouldn't recognize me and give Snow White 2 apples. I gave her one that I specifically said was poisonous and one that she could eat if she felt so inclined. But I said, this one, this specific apple, you need to give it to the huntsman. So upon returning home, the huntsman came back and he was spreading vicious lies about me. He said that I had poisoned Snow White and she was now in a poison-induced coma. I had no idea what had happened, and even Snow White came back after being kissed by that Prince Charming. She came back and said that I had poisoned her as well. I mean, I told her, you do not eat this specific apple. I forbid her from it. I mean, let's be serious here. No one's mad at God for telling Eve not to eat the forbidden fruit when she ate it anyways.
That's true.
This is the exact same situation, so I'm here to prove my innocence.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. We really appreciate that. And we hope that this will clear up the story for people all around the world. They'll see that this tale was not, that it's now proven correct.
I hope so too.
Okay.
I'll punch him in the nose. I'll tie him in a knot. I'll kick him in the chin. We'll put him on the spot.
Is our furry villain from the Three Little Pigs. Now we remember him going around and huffing and puffing and blowing these poor little pigs' houses down and then gobbling them up. How horrible must he be? Is there any way we can turn this story around? Let's see. Let's give it up for the Big Bad Wolf.
You suck! Boo!
Thank you so much for coming in. Are you all right?
Hello, yes, you'll have to excuse me. I'm still become very ill. Well, I've become portrayed as quite the monster, and unrightfully so. It all started one day when I woke up with an awful cough. I was coughing and wheezing and horribly sneezing. I went into town to find some relief for my sickness. When I arrived in town, I was told that the town doctor was the mother of these three little pigs, and if I found them, I would find their mother. Simple enough, I thought. I arrived at the house of the three pigs. 3 houses for 3 pigs. A bit excessive, if you ask me.
Seems like it.
I began knocking on the door of the pig with a straw house. I said, little pig, may I please come in? He replied in this snobby little voice, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. I said, please, I'll cough and I'll sneeze and I'll spread my disease. The next thing I know, I coughed and sneezed so forcefully I blew the house down. I was mortified.
Oh.
The little pig ran over to the other pig's house before I even could get a chance to apologize, and he slammed the door. I knocked and the same thing happened again. I coughed, I sneezed, I blew his house down. It was awful. So when I arrived at the house of the last pig, they still wouldn't let me in. They even teased me with the medicine out the window, showing it to me. I became so desperate that I had no choice but to climb down the chimney and take the medicine for myself. You know, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Of course.
When I arrived inside, they tried to eat me. You know, that is how the original went before it got retold.
It's true.
Anyways, I ran out of the house before they could do any real harm. I ran into the next town and I never really got the medicine. Now, I know these pigs are cute and small and I'm large and scary, but I'm tired of playing the bad guy.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have to. It's not your fault. Well, thank you so much for coming in. I hope that clears it up for others. And I would like to wish everyone a good day from me and the people here at Happily Never After.